Hi, Heather.
Hello, Jess. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good, thank you.
I'm so happy to have you on the podcast today. Today, you guys, we have Heather Gilliam here, and she is a functional medicine dietitian. So I know I personally have a million questions, and I want this episode to be all about me and my ailments, but we won't do that. Um, so
It's a conversation starter sometimes, yeah.
Oh, for sure. You're like, this is what I do. And everyone's like, okay, can I take up 30 minutes of your time? You're like, yeah, you can
Yeah.
book a session. Um, it's a great, I mean, especially these days, I feel like there's so much attention to more functional medicine.
Yeah, which is great.
Yes, it's great, but then I feel like there's so much to learn. And we'll talk about that. But Heather, I'm so happy you're here.
Me
I
too.
know that this isn't how you started your career, and I love to talk about people's journeys, kind of how it all got started, what happened throughout your journey to lead you to where you are, and all the other fun stuff, marriage, motherhood,
Yeah.
it's all intertwined. So can you give us a little bit of background of the start of your career, how you started?
Yeah, so actually, when I was in high school, my best friend and I just, I guess our moms were making us take like a college class at like Ventura College. And so we just picked nutrition and
Okay.
we both ended up loving it and loving our teacher. And we both became dietitians, which is really rare and weird that we both did that. But that was kind of like the jump start to it. We went to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. Um,
Together?
Together, which was great. That worked
Yeah.
out perfect. And then I went to UCLA to get my master's, and I did my dietetic internship at the VA in West Los Angeles. So that's
Wow.
when I was really like, slam, you're an adult, figure this out, working 40 hours a week kind of a
How,
thing.
how old were you?
When I did my internship, I was like between 22 to 24. So that's probably like right when my stomach issues started the most, I think, related to stress. I know we're going to get into that too.
Yeah. So you think as you were doing your internship as a dietitian, you started having all your ailments?
Ironically, yes.
Yeah.
Just the
Ironically,
pressure of
totally.
it. Yeah, I didn't even really, I wasn't aware that I should be even managing my stress. I was just kind of thrown into it. And my mentality was just push and get through it and just do your best. Don't worry about if you're not breathing during the day or if you're not sleeping well. I wasn't even in the mindset to realize.
I don't really think the majority of people are. I mean, it's definitely not taught or talked about, especially maybe more so now. I think there's like a big push.
More so now, yeah.
But when I was starting out, I mean, I didn't even contemplate that working 40 hours a week and then working at home and just continuing like next step, next. I didn't even think, oh, there has to be a different way or
Right?
shouldn't feel like this. Like that was just what we did. I don't know if I've ever stopped.
Yeah,
Now I just incorporate more in, but like, I mean, I definitely have the grind culture embedded in me for sure.
hmm,
Yeah. And then you don't think about all the ways that's impacting your body
for sure.
energy. So did realizing that you were starting to have those gut issues, did that make you pause or you just continue to live with it?
Just continue to soldier through, just thinking it was normal or whatever. Started carrying a little Tums in my lab coat pocket, everywhere I went, thinking that was great, which it wasn't. Um, Started going to GI doctors, getting on all the medications, which that was another, bad move that just made everything worse. I think what really caused my problems now that I've unraveled it all, stress, Diet Coke, crazy Diet Coke habit, and then going to all the GI doctors and getting on all the medicines. When really I found out I have like just a digestive enzyme deficiency, which is actually pretty common, but it's not really tested for unless you're, working with a functional medicine
So
specialist.
did you test yourself for that?
Yes, ended up testing myself for that through some testing that was offered when we took our advanced courses through the Institute for Functional Medicine. They offer the practitioners some tests, and mine came out like outrageously so low. And this is after I worked on my gut. So it was probably like down to nothing when I was actually going through all my problems.
Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
so you're doing your internship at the VA, and then when you were finished, where did you do the majority of your career?
So when I was done with that, I started working at Ventura County Medical Center. And I was full time there. And then that was in '94. Then I had my son in '97. And after that, I was blessed to not have to work 40 hours a week. God bless the women that do it with children. Because I mean, I was so stressed out, even working part time. I can't imagine,
Yeah.
doing that. So then, after my son was a few months old, I started working part time at Valley Presbyterian in Van Nuys.
Mhm.
And that's where I had my daughter. So she was born in 2000.
So what type of patient are you working with at this?
Yeah. So, in the beginning of my career, when I was at county, I was doing a little bit of everything, which was perfect for a brand new dietitian. I would see the hospitalized patients and kind of work with the whole medical team and get the nutrition plan set up for the hospitalized patients, whether they were being tube fed or whatever the deal may be. And then I also worked in all the various clinics, like um, the NICU grad clinics, so little babies that would be NICU babies, and they would come home with their mom, and they were the NICU grads. They'd come in, and we would talk to them about, making sure the baby was fed the right way. Or, I worked in the diabetic clinics. I just got a lot of everything, which was awesome for my age and stage that I was at.
That's really
And then when I went over to Valley Press, I was doing more outpatient stuff, which is anybody that's not hospitalized. And
Mhm.
I found I really liked that the most. Most dietitians do. I mean, I feel like that's where you're getting the most impact to a
Okay,
client.
because you
Yeah.
see them longer term?
I'm sorry.
Is it because you see them longer term? Is it what they're in the hospital, it's just quick turnover?
Exactly. And they're not in a place to want to learn anything about nutrition or eating. They're kind of just in crisis mode.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like you're making a huge impact on their life or their health as much when they're hospitalized.
Yeah.
So I really enjoy the counseling part of it. And then, so I had my daughter 2000, it took like a couple of years, like completely off. And then I got the perfect job 1 day a week, which I was so blessed to have that for the entire time I was raising my kids. I worked 1 day a week at Community Memorial Hospital in Ventura,
Doing outpatient?
doing outpatient, just outpatient in the clinic. It was basically me and another dietitian. We like ran our little show. The administration kind of left us alone, and we didn't make a ton of money for the hospital, but we were doing a good little service and we were fine. Little by little, administration started closing in on us and realizing, if we build insurance a certain way and, we did all this stuff, oh, we could see. I think you were talking about this on one of your podcasts, all about like,
Insurance billing? I mean,
yeah,
that's an issue.
yeah, a
We
big
bill
issue. That's
insurance
one
for
of
our
the,
clinic, and we do it so more people can access the service. But I mean, I don't, besides people being able to go through their insurance and not have to do private pay, I don't think I have anything positive to say.
I don't have anything positive to say at all, except for that was the preemptive strike to get me to start my own private practice, which
There
has
you
been
go.
great.
There's
If
your silver
insurance
lining.
wasn't like coming down on my head with administration at, the hospital. But yeah, when COVID struck, the administration really started dictating more of what my coworker and I were going to do in our little clinic that we had created. And
Mhm.
it just, I felt like at that point in my career, I had so much more to offer with my experience, my wisdom, everything I'd learned. And I'm like, hey, I'm going to fly free. I'm just,
Yeah.
yeah.
I completely can relate to that. I worked in the schools for a decade, and I think there's a lot of good that can be done treating in the schools. And I think there's a lot of therapists that do amazing work, but my personality and the way I need to interact with families when I treat, I felt limited.
Yes.
And I therefore felt like uninspired
Exactly.
my career. And that's what created Fox, my clinic, because I had to go out and treat a different way to really feel like I was able to make an impact. Uh,
Yeah.
So that's not for everybody, but I can understand feeling like you need to create your own entity in order to feel really impactful on the people that you're treating and not being
Yeah.
dictated to like what you can and cannot do.
Right. It
Ironic
wasn't,
that we take insurance because now we're still a little bit dictated to, but not to the same degree.
yeah. Yeah. At least you have a little bit more control over.
I do. We can at least decide like which insurance companies we will contract with
Mm-hmm.
and where the line's drawn. I mean, that's a whole other conversation, but
It's a whole other conversation. I mean, for me personally, my business, I don't take insurance at all.
yeah,
Um, and I think a lot of people are kind of going to more medical practitioners that don't take insurance. They're kind of realizing things are changing.
huge movement actually. There's a lot of doctors letting go of insurance, going concierge.
Mhm.
We talk about it all the time because insurance companies, they don't raise their reimbursement rates. I mean, it's been
Right.
a decade since like Blue Cross has changed their rates. And with inflation, people want and need larger salaries. If
Mhm.
doctors or different clinical offices aren't able to generate more and they need to pay more, that's an issue, right?
Yeah.
I mean, insurance companies really need to catch up. But yeah, there's a lot of different things that offices are doing right now. Some have administration fees that they're just billing clients to get into the office, and then they're billing insurance, and then some are leaving it behind. I think it's going to be really interesting and sad, honestly, how this impacts general health care over the
Right.
years and who's able to access adequate care.
Yeah. I mean,
We're
oh
taking
gosh,
on, and we're going to
there's,
stick with insurance for now, but it's
yeah,
tough.
it's tough. And some of the things that go on in conventional healthcare are just so scary and upsetting and sad to me because I see it deeper than a lot of patients see it, maybe that haven't worked in a hospital and haven't been around a lot of sick people and things like that. But, I took my dad to the doctor the other day and she was just a standard pulmonologist and it was a follow up appointment. And she just started, he was complaining, oh, I'm short of breath and I don't have energy. And she just started saying, you need this test, you need this test, and you need to see this specialist. Um, and we had seen her before. This was like our fifth appointment or whatever. And so she had all ordered literally like five things, half of which he had already had. And kind of towards the end of the appointment, I asked her, well, how important is it that he's wearing his oxygen during the day? Because I knew as his daughter he wasn't. And she's like, oh, he needs to be wearing that 24/7. I'm thinking like, dude, that's a problem.
Yeah,
What?
like you didn't want to start with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's, I think with functional medicine, that's more what we look at. There's not usually a whole lot of tests ordered. We ask the person what they're doing, and then we kind of go from there to get to kind of the root cause. Because if he's short of breath and stuff, if he's not having his oxygen during the day that was prescribed, then yeah, he
Yeah.
doesn't need another test. We know he needs his oxygen.
So you're looking more at like the whole person. I think about my husband. He has severe sleep apnea.
Yeah,
And no doctor ever asked him, how's your sleep?
yeah,
Right?
right.
Like, it wasn't, he could go to a doctor for whatever, he could have his general checkup. He never would come back and say, anyone's asked me about the quality of my sleep. Because I do what I do, I said, hey, you do not sleep well. Like
Yeah,
you are snoring nonstop, you are coughing and you stop breathing and you wake up and
big
thank God
problem.
I do what I do. So I'm like, you need a sleep test. I thought maybe he would have like borderline sleep apnea. It came back severe. He was like
Wow.
37 or 38 at the time. And sleep apnea is so dangerous, right?
Very dangerous, super bad for our heart and everything else.
Oh yeah, it
Um,
could take 15 years from your life. And he's a healthy man. Otherwise, he's not dealing with like excess body weight or anything.
wow.
And he now is going down this whole other road that he needs, but no doc, if I didn't know what was going to happen.
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean,
In functional medicine, they teach us there's 5 roots. That's like the tree of life, and there's 5 roots that you have to have, and one of them is your sleep. So pretty much when you go to a functional medicine provider, every single time you're going to be asked about your sleep. I mean, I ask all my clients about their sleep. I don't care what they're here to see me for. We talk about nutrition, sleep, exercise, stress, and your relationships with others. Those are the 5 roots in functional medicine. When we say, yeah, nutrition.
Oh, nutrition. Okay, yeah, sorry.
Yeah. And when we say relationship with others, I think that's an interesting one, because for me, I add in there like the relationship with self. And I know you talk a lot about that on your podcast, and like self-care and things like that. I always talk to my clients about those 5.
Yeah. I think that's really interesting and really great. It's so interesting because I don't blame Western medicine, because as someone who's working with clients and dealing with the bureaucracy of insurance companies, I know they're limited. I know they're only allowed to do so much and spend so much time with each client in order to in practice. But it's also like really risky business to not provide adequate care with your license attached. I don't know. It's pretty wild and it's pretty sad. And I'm sad that medical professionals are even in this position. And I'm sad that people are going to start really getting more and more compromised care if they can't afford a private pay service.
Yeah, I'm with you. And also people that aren't maybe like me and you and haven't been around it, they just take that as, okay, this is the expert. They told me I need this test. They think, okay, everything's cool. Meanwhile, they're not doing their oxygen at home. And that's just one example, but people aren't understanding that it's compromised care. They think it's great because they're going to a specialist.
What my doctor said. Yeah.
And also, like you said, the specialists, they're working in a medical model where they're thinking about prescriptions, tests, time limits. So it's not that they're a bad person or a bad doctor or not smart or don't care. I don't really think that that's the case. It's just they've gotten so used to this type of medical model that it doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't work. So I've been down this journey of, why do I feel this way? So about a year ago, or maybe a little bit more, I mean, stress is an issue. I've always had excess stress, but I just felt so inflamed. I knew my body didn't feel the way I used to feel. My brain fog was out of control, constant bloat, and just feeling so uncomfortable. So I ended up going to this local doctor who's kind of like a marrying of Western and Eastern, more holistic. And I spent so much money on testing. I can't even tell you, right? Because I'm just like, yes, like, let's figure this out together. And then I did 3.5 months of this insane elimination diet. I was not eating.
Based on like, was it food sensitivity testing?
Food sensitivity testing, but she couldn't bill insurance. She could bill insurance if I did 19 foods, but she couldn't if I did 190.
Okay.
So I do all this testing. I'm like, at this point, I just need to feel better. Do it. It comes back. I do this elimination diet. I come back and she goes, you didn't lose a pound. I'm like, I know. But like, that was it. I'm like, do I start adding food back in? What do I do? And then she goes, well, because I've been on an SSRI since I was 13. And she goes, well, we should wean you off. And I was like, okay. I mean, I've been on it for 30 years, but yeah, let's talk about that, because I would love that if I can do it. And then she's like, and I'm going to put you on testosterone, because that's going to help counteract weaning you off of these SSRIs.
Wow.
So we do this. I'm doing it for like 3 weeks. I don't really feel any different. I have called that office 3 times and emailed, and I have not heard back. She is in the middle of weaning me off an SSRI, and I cannot get a hold of this doctor unless I walked in and like knocked on her door. So I'm taking that as a sign from the universe that like, this is not my doctor. I will
not working together well with that.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking like, what's happening on her end that I don't know. That's so crazy to me, to be so intense in someone's, I don't know, plan of care, and then not be like, hey, I haven't heard from this person. Let me follow up.
I was just thinking there's a lot of loose strings, it sounds like.
Yeah, and
floating around with you. One thing that jumps out at your story is when people get the food sensitivity testing, whether it be like blood test or skin prick test, those are notoriously inaccurate. It shows, oh my gosh, I can't stand blueberries, +4 on
oh my God,
blueberries.
it was like pineapple,
Yeah,
ginger. It was like every food that I was currently eating. I have
yeah,
dairy out. I feel a lot better without dairy and eggs, but everything else I've kind of added back in and it's been okay. But
okay,
by
smart.
myself.
Yeah.
Not
What it really shows when people really light up those tests on the food sensitivity is they just have a leaky gut.
yeah.
So the whole proteins of the foods are getting through those tight junctions and they're coming in contact with the immune system where they shouldn't be. And so it's not the food's fault and it's not the immune system's fault, it's their gut is unhealthy.
Uh-huh.
So in functional medicine, that's like the foundation. We heal the gut first, and then we don't have like the cancer, the autoimmune, the inflammation, the brain issues, everything.
Yeah. It's so interesting. So I want to go back to those 5 root causes that you talk about
Yeah.
with your clients. So you go through that all. I'm guessing stress is actually huge. And have you ever
Huge.
come across someone that said they're not stressed?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
They'll either tell me maybe I'm a little bit stressed. It was funny with one of my last clients. She even asked her husband because he was like, oh, because I usually see my clients in their home. So he was
Uh-huh.
kind of in the next room. She's asking me if I'm stressed. Yeah, I don't think I'm that stressed. He goes, no, you're not that stressed. I just thought it was funny that she's getting his opinion. But most of my clients are pretty stressed.
I would imagine.
And especially by the time they see me, because I think for most people, if their problem is not that severe, they're just going to go through a dietitian that's through their insurance and say, like, I'm sure I'm just going to get, what I'm going to get regardless. So let's just go through the dietitian that's on my insurance. Once they come to me, they've hit a few people that haven't worked and things are more serious, put it that way.
Right. You are being sought out.
Yeah.
So they know they need help.
Yeah.
How much do you find that relationships with others? I mean, I think that's so interesting because I
Isn't it
agree.
interesting? People don't think of it really. They think, yeah, I'm
Oh, no.
stressed, but they don't think of a major root as being relationships with others.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an important thing how we're interacting. Um,
Do you have to provide a sort of therapy for that?
well, I take my cue from the client. I will kind of approach each of those 5. Obviously, we're going deep into nutrition,
Yeah.
but I'll kind of approach each one of those and see my vibe with the client. If they're like, oh my God, I need so much help there. If they're like, no, I haven't really thought of that about that. I think I'm okay. Like with those, if they say, oh, I'm okay with sleep, I say, well, how many hours are you sleeping? Like, how often are you waking up? Just to get an idea if what they think is okay is what I think is okay. And
Sure.
you know,
I have to ask, that's one of my main questions for clients too, is how do you sleep or how does your child sleep? And they're
yeah,
like, oh, they're fine or I'm fine. I'm like, okay, well, do they toss and turn? Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Do they wake up in odd positions? Yeah, but they're sleeping.
yeah,
Are they tired when they wake up? Oh, I guess so. And it's
mhm,
people aren't even educated and we don't know. I didn't know as a mom what I
right,
should be looking for in my child's sleep before I went down this road. We
yeah,
don't know what we don't know.
right,
They mean I've worked with parents on feeding for their kiddos and they don't realize they're chewing once and swallowing whole. They're like, oh yeah, no, they eat chewy foods, no problem. I'm like, okay, let's do it. And it's like chew, swallow, and
not getting broken down at all. Yeah,
not because they're not a good parent. I'm sure there's so much I don't know to look for my child. That's not within my,
yeah,
area of expertise.
yeah,
That kind of stuff's just not taught,
right.
at the pediatrician's office. It's just very, very different. So, okay, let's go back a little bit for you. So you have a son and a daughter.
Yes. My son's 25, my daughter's 22.
And they're in school right now?
Yeah, my son graduated and he just started his own business, which was really great because he started his own business the same week that I started my business.
Oh, wow.
So we're the little
during COVID?
Yeah, we both started our business April 2021.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm kind of new in my private practice, but it's way more than I ever thought it would be. Like things I'm doing with it, I would have never even tried to think that I could handle when I first started. I'm just like not saying no to things and just stopping. Like, why would I think I wouldn't be good enough to do something? Like, if we really think about that, it's like,
Yeah.
what do I need to be thinking I'm good enough? Like, why don't I just start knowing I am and just do it? And that's actually been working out.
Don't you think this is like the hallmark of how I want to say women, maybe men too, but more so women, we get in our way. And I'm currently expanding into another area right now, and I'm totally dealing with imposter syndrome, and I'm working through that with my coach. And I remember when I started my private practice, I thought if I could just have a full caseload, like I don't think I'll ever be able to do it, but if I could have like 25 to 30 clients, what the clinic grew into, I never even imagined. And if someone would have told me, I would have been like, I don't know, I can't do that. So what did you envision right off the bat for yourself?
So when I was getting really frustrated when COVID started at the hospital, I said, screw it. I'm going to quit my job. I just want to get good nutrition information out there. And so if you see on my website, I have these free nutrition guides on my homepage, and I started just with that. I wasn't honestly even trying to see clients or do anything. And I was just happy having my guides online and having people be able to go to that. And
okay, let me ask you a question. I'm gonna like walk through these steps with you because I want to talk about the whole progress and what you did and also how you were thinking and feeling. So did your first step, you contacted someone to make you a website? Did you make your website?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm very technology deficient, like low level -1, just, So, I think the universe or somebody just really helped me with that. And by the way, I feel like I am getting like the right people, or just somebody like you, like, hello, why am I on a podcast?
You're doing what you're meant to be doing. When we follow what we intuitively feel is meant for us, even if it doesn't make sense. I just think we end up where we're supposed to be, and the people that are supposed to be in our lives end up in our lives. It doesn't mean it's not scary as shit.
Right.
It still is.
It's nerve-wracking.
I think it's scarier to stay in something where there is something else for you.
Yeah,
right?
I think so too. And that also goes along with like my stomach aches and stuff. Like I was getting so stressed during COVID at the hospital because I knew how I wanted to approach my client, educate my client, and it took time and energy. And then all the crap they were making me do also took my time and energy, and it was conflicting. And then my stomach was just getting worse. And I'm thinking, why am I like 53 years old and I can't even handle this job? It's because, like you said, that's not what I need to do with my wisdom at this time. It wasn't fitting.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. And I think money is really important. Like, trust me, money to me equals freedom. Okay. That's what it represents to me. But if I'm making money in a way that is unfulfilling, then money doesn't make enough to fill me, right? Like if I do want to make money to provide for my family, my children, have freedom to expose them to great experiences, but I have to be doing something that speaks to me and fills me up.
Right.
Because for you, the same thing. We can't just go do the job and go home if we don't feel like we're truly doing what we're meant to do.
Right.
So then you're in this like internal battle.
Yeah. And I will say for me, I was also really blessed because being older and, I've been married with my husband for 31 years. So we're like very established. So I was able to like not have a lot of financial pressure going into my.
That's a beautiful thing when you're starting something.
He really supported me. He's like, whatever you want to do. And it wasn't expensive for me to get into my business, but it also wasn't like lucrative, know.
So how did you start getting the word out that you were available to treat?
How did I do that?
Mhm.
That's kind of been that's actually really interesting because I definitely didn't do it the traditional way that people do it these days with like social media and things like that, because
Uh-huh.
I'm completely clueless about social media, things like that. So what I did was I just have a network of professionals that I talk to and know me and respect me, and they started referring clients to me. And that I feel like is like kind of a lost art. Like, people want to drench social media and kind of get, I don't even know, followers or whatever it's supposed to be, or
Mhm.
influencers, whatever it is. Um, but to be able to go to like your Chinese medicine doctor and say like, hey, I have all this bloating, like what's going on? Why is my tongue swelling up? And him to be like, oh, I know this functional medicine dietitian. It's somebody that you're trusting tells you somebody that they trust that you can
Sure.
go to.
Sure.
So that's kind of what I've been doing. And I feel great about it, but also business is kind of slow, but I don't need it to be, I don't need to have a ton of clients. And I don't know, honestly, if I did social media and stuff, would I have a ton of clients or not? I don't really know.
I Interesting. I don't know. I think it depends on the profession. I don't really know. I'm not really savvy on social media either. But I would say for our business, it was really through the relationships we built in the community and the treatment
Wow.
of clients to where families and doctors really started to trust us and we nurtured those relationships.
To me, that's the real deal. You can't fake that.
Right. Yeah. I think did you know these doctors before leaving your position, or did you go out there and really start introducing yourself
I
to other?
did both. Um, Yeah, I'm trying to kind of spread the word amongst medical professionals like yourself, about me. And then some of them had known me for a long time. And it's so funny because after I got all this advanced training in gut health, I mean, like really dove into it, I just would go to like these GI clinics, these local clinics. I would just show up and talk to their assistant and say, like, look, I've been a dietitian this long. I have this training. I'm doing these gut health classes. They're cheap. They're like $40. Tell your clients about this. Clients are coming in, they're throwing up, whatever. They're getting all these endoscopies, but there's something more that they can learn from my training that the doctor doesn't have time to tell them about. And I thought, oh my God, this is going to be like gold
Oh,
mine.
you're
They're
taking
going
my.
to love me. They're like, some of the assistants actually were like, wow, this is really great. Our
So
doctor's
they
gonna,
probably came to you. You
yeah,
probably ended up with the assistants, but not the patient.
right, right. So, some of them were really into it. Some of them literally, Jess, they did not look up from their keyboard. They were like, while I was talking, I felt like the biggest idiot in their office. And I have hardly got any referrals from them.
Well, if
And
they're going to you, they don't need all the tests run and right.
yeah, and I don't, what's going on with all of these patients that are going to the GI doctor? What's going to be the end result for them?
You need to figure out, where do those patients go before the GI doctor?
Yeah,
That's what you should advertise to. When they're deciding, am I going to do all these tests or can I work with this functional medicine doctor and maybe I won't have to go through all those tests? I think
yeah,
that would be, because the GI doctor, that's what they do. Like if you're
yeah,
gonna, they're not gonna get to. But it's that step where
yeah, that makes sense.
that
Yeah,
to find patients there so you can help them.
yeah.
So what were you referring to when you said that what you thought your private practice was going to be
Oh, yeah.
expanded into something else that you never even imagined?
Well, like being able to come on this podcast, like somebody would even care about me talking about my career. I never thought that would happen, or I would have the guts to be able to talk to someone like you about this.
Really? No, I mean, this is exactly what I want to talk about on here is women that are following their hearts, doing what they're doing. And listen, yes, is it nice that you didn't have financial pressure? Sure. But like to put yourself out there and create something from nothing. I mean, I've been there. This is no easy feat.
It isn't.
And it's inspirational, and it's great for other people to hear, to know that, yeah, it's scary, and yeah, it's not always fun, and yeah, there's really hard moments, but if it really is what you want to do, it's worth it.
It's worth it. And I'm having so much fun with my clients because we just do whatever the hell we want. I mean, I would go in their home. The last lady's home, I was with her for like 2 hours and 10 minutes. She had her table full of like all her supplements and her prescriptions, and she was showing me all her bone broth and this and that. Um, and she was so grateful and thankful. And then she wrote my check, and everything was cool. Like, I did something for her that's going to impact her health. And she knows that she can reach me and follow up if she has questions. And just doing stuff like that has been so amazing. I have this new gut health class that I'm excited about. I'm just going different locations and teaching that. I'm doing things in the communities, like with young athletes. A
Oh, that's
couple,
cool. I have a
yeah.
couple of those in my home, but
Oh,
they're
good.
really young. They're really, really young, but that's really cool.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna bore everybody with that, but I mean, my kids love to eat a bunch of shit.
Yeah, I
And
bet. There's so much shit in the world these days.
oh my
Everybody thinks it's
gosh,
normal to be eating like that, and it's terrible. The body is like, hello, this is not normal.
totally. But like, I think kids that are a little bit more easygoing about food, parents would be like, well, put the vegetable on the plate and make them eat it.
Mhm.
My son, we've been through hell and back with some feeding stuff with him. Um, that is not a thing if your child is really struggling with food. You
Yeah.
can't be like, no, you're going to eat your broccoli and then
Yeah.
do it, right? So, yes, I mean, that's a whole other conversation about getting certain things into their diet, because he is super athletic and busy, and you can just I'll pick your brain about this another time,
Well,
but
I kind of
it
see,
impacts them on a
yeah.
daily basis. You can see how it impacts them when they're in the middle of doing their activities. Um, it's really, really, that's really, really interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting with the young athletes because they kind of have their own motivations that are like totally different from maybe what the parents' motivations would be
Mm.
for them to eat healthy. So when this young mother first contacted me, her daughter's 13 and she's in a volleyball club, and that's who she wanted me to speak to. And she said, I want you to talk about nutrition for injury prevention, healthy menstrual cycle, and there was one other thing that she said. And I said, yeah, that's great. I'll come. It's going to be awesome. I said, I think the best way though is ask each one of the girls what their question is, just one question that each one of them have, because that way we can spin it towards, because I know what they're going to want to know is, how can I not have pimples? How can I make my hair however they want their hair?
Yeah, I feel like these are my questions.
Yeah, that's true too. Not that we don't care about that, but
Yeah.
young kids, they're not thinking like, how can I not have heart disease? How can I, my blood sugar, how
Yeah,
can I get more vegetables? It has to be where they're motivated. So I got some really interesting questions from the girls. So that's usually how I start with kids, is going in at their angle, whatever their interest is.
that's awesome. That's really
Yeah.
great. And then you were talking about the client that you went to her house. So do you sometimes just have to do one session?
Yeah. So I do individual. Oh, I see. With no follow-ups, you mean?
Right. Is it like, to work with you, people are on this long plan, or sometimes you do one session and then decide after that if you need a follow-up session?
Yeah, so pretty much I would like to do like at least 3 sessions, even for a patient that really has everything going great, just because they're gonna have some questions, and also they're not gonna absorb everything that I talk about the first time, because I do give a lot of information the first time, or they might be like a little bit confused. So I like to at least see them 3 times. The next 2 times, it doesn't have to be in their home. Sometimes we could do that on the phone or whatever. Or I've just met them like at restaurants. I mean, we do whatever we want. And I don't ever have to go to their home if that's not their preference. I just find it seems to be most effective and comfortable for both of us.
That's
But I
great.
don't have like a long drawn out plan that I do for clients. And I also don't have any what's the word when, you put in like the characteristics in a plan, like spits out and you say, this is the patient's plan.
I don't know the
Like
word, but I know what you're talking about.
it's more of like an agreement with the client. I want to know like what their priorities are, what they're willing to change, it's all a negotiation
Meeting
type.
them where they are. You
Yeah.
mentioned bone broth. Is it really as great as TikTok says it is?
It's really is great. The thing is, and this is true with all supplements, one of the main things that's the most important is where are you getting the supplement? What is your source? What's your brand? So specifically for the bone broth, I like Paleo Valley. She does a really great like grass-fed, grass-finished powder. And it doesn't taste really bad, which some bone broths taste really bad. And so like when I do hers, I'll just do a scoop in water, mix it and just chug it down and then make sure you have something to follow it with. Because to me, it doesn't taste great, but it's not as horrible as a lot of bone broths can be. And I like the ones that aren't in the capsules because I feel like then it's coating more the GI tract.
I didn't even realize you could take it in the capsule.
Yeah, some people do, because bone broth, what it is the collagen, and that's going to be the protein that the body uses to kind of tighten back up those junctions and repair the gut lining. So in that case, that's what's going on.
What would you say what would you say is like the most common running theme in people that you treat as a trigger for poor gut health? Or is there not?
Okay, so what's causing it?
Yeah.
So one of the main causes is
I'm
processed
curious to know
food.
the answer because I don't know if I want to change something.
I know. See, that's the thing. People don't want to hear this. It's processed foods, which
Okay, that's fine. I thought
depending.
you were gonna say tequila. And I was like,
Well, that too, alcohol too. Yeah, I know. I gotta say that too. That's the other thing people really don't like me to say. In fact, I think alcohol is the main thing they don't want me to say.
don't say coffee, don't say alcohol.
Yeah. But I have to say all that stuff. Um, I just wish people could really wrap their head around the idea that what we think is a normal way of eating in our city here in these day and age is not normal for the body. It's not what the body's expecting and not how Mother Nature created our body. And the body really cannot function with the way that we're eating. The type of protein, fat, carbs that we're feeding the body. Things have to come from nature in nature's form. As much
So what does that mean in for like protein?
Yeah, so protein, all organic, eggs, turkey, fish, chicken, red meat, pork. Usually not so much dairy, but if you wanted to do like an organic soy milk where like the first ingredient is like actual soybean and not like a protein isolate,
Right.
do an organic like flax milk, something like that. So
What
that
about like an oat milk or an almond milk or a coconut milk?
You could do those. There's nothing wrong with those, but they're not going to be protein sources as much as.
Oh, got it. Okay, you're talking about a protein source.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard because when I did that elimination diet, I really stuck to it because I really wanted to figure out what the hell was going on.
Right.
It's really hard to participate in socializing.
Yeah.
If you're in your kitchen and you have complete control, but to eat at someone else's house or to go to a restaurant,
Nothing's going to be organic, first of all.
No. And then it's challenging, like the way people a lot of people just naturally cook, even if the majority of it, they're like, oh, I know you can't eat X, so I made this. I'm like, yeah, but you cooked it in this, and this. And
right.
So I think it's so multifaceted on really trying to have good nutrition because it really takes you out of being an easy participant when you're with others.
It's totally true. And I know I'm not an easy participant when I'm eating at people's houses. I'm like, oh boy, what can I eat that's here,
What do? Do you ever just like eat things because you feel bad? Do you ever go to someone's house and just be like, I'm not gonna eat?
Totally. I'll find something to eat, but I'm not going to put anything in my body that I don't want to. Not to saying that, yeah, I'll never eat chocolate or like I do eat that stuff, but if I'm not wanting to, I'm not going to do it just because everyone else is doing it.
Does your husband follow the same approach?
He doesn't follow my same thing because I'm to the extreme. I realize I'm not expecting people to be
I
like
can see
me.
your shoulders and your arms. And for those of you listening, not watching, you got to go to her website, take a look.
Thank
But
you.
I mean, tall,
I,
lean, toned.
thank you. I appreciate that. I will hand it to my husband though. He pretty much tries. He's not against a lot of my stuff, but he knows I'm a little extreme, and so we compromise.
What about your kids? What was it like raising them? Because I have to imagine to have all this knowledge, and then you also don't want to give your children body issues or food
Right,
issues. So
right.
how did you marry that line?
I definitely had some issues with that for sure. For instance, like the day my son got his driver's license, all he did was just constantly go to In-N-Out, drive through, In-N-Out, just, drive through this and that.
Free, yeah.
Yeah, and so I had to think, oh my God, son, what are you doing? He goes, and he made the excuse, well, mom, I don't have any money, so it's the only thing I can buy. And so this is gonna sound so dumb, but this is like how hyper spaz I used to be, which I'm trying to work on. I said, if you send me a picture of something healthy, I will pay for it. And that's gonna be our compromise because his excuse was no money. I don't know if it really worked. I mean, maybe sometimes,
I mean, I
but I
could
think
see, I could see the intrigue in that.
yeah, my daughter, she's a little bit more just inherently a healthy eater, a little bit more like me, like adventurous. She's not gonna say no to like seaweed chips or, my
Uh-huh.
son's like, no, I'm just gonna eat
Okay.
like chicken and rice. It's just, I think they were just kind of like born different
Uh-huh. Yeah.
in that regard. So she didn't go crazy when she got her license, but um,
Did either of them go into
yeah.
similar fields?
So my son is an insurance agent, just like my husband, so they're kind of both in finance.
Okay.
Um, and then my daughter, she's studying psychology and, kind of health type stuff. She likes kids and fitness and that type of stuff.
Very cool. Well, you
Yeah.
guys eventually could cross over with each other.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Well,
Maybe.
I am so happy that we got to meet and talk. As you've gone through this career and you've started your new practice, what would you tell someone who wanted to give it a shot as well and go after their dreams? What would be some of the advice you would give?
You definitely have to work hard and you can't talk yourself out of not putting in the time and the effort. That's very important. And then believing in yourself. If you're not going to believe in yourself, it's really not going to work. Be willing to be very creative. Don't do just the way someone else is telling you how to do it, because you're you and you're going to do it your way. That's what's going to make it so awesome. Trust the open doors that are just opening a pinch for you. I mean, if you put your foot in that slams, fine, but you can try another door, but just keep going for it.
Yeah,
Because like my example, like when I went to the GI doctors, some of them were like typing away, not even looking at me, and some of them thought I was like the greatest thing since sliced bread. And I'm giving them the same exact information.
sure.
So you're gonna come across it. Eventually, you're gonna come across someone that just thinks, "Oh, this is great. Let me go for it." If you
Yeah,
know
it's
you have
not
a good
about you,
product,
it's about them, right?
yeah, if you know you have a good product and it's coming from the heart, just believe in it, and you don't know where you'll go with it.
I think that's really, really, really good
Yeah,
advice.
thank you.
I agree with all of that completely.
Thank
Well,
you.
it's been so great to talk to you. What you're doing
Thanks.
is really important for people. So
Thank you. And I just one more thing I wanted to say, because you were asking a few things about gut
absolutely.
health. Um, on my website, I have those free nutrition guides. If you download them, you're not going to hear from me. I'm not going to email you nothing, but it does give you a good basic outline of good, sound nutrition advice. And there is specifically one on gut health and has all the good stuff in the green, all the bad stuff that you don't want to do in the red. Try to break it down a little bit for
I'm going to
people.
check that out for sure.
Okay, cool.
Great. And I think that's a beautiful thing that you're putting that free resource out there for
Thank
everybody.
you.
So
Thank you.
thank you. It was really nice to talk.
Great to talk to you, Jess. I had such a fun time.
Me too. I'm sure we'll connect in the future.
Yeah, I would love it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Have a good one.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Jess.